Shocking, drink these at night. That's why you wake up miserable. Fix acid reflux fast. You know, there's nothing quite like finally getting into bed after a long day. You pull up the covers, get comfortable, and drift off to sleep, looking forward to a good night's rest. But then, a few hours later, you're jolted awake. Not by a noise outside, not by a bad dream, but by that ultra-familiar burning sensation in your chest, that sour acidic taste in the back of your throat. You're lying there in the dark, feeling miserable, wondering what on earth you did wrong this time. You just want to sleep, but your body has other plans. If that sounds familiar, if you've spent more nights than you like staring at the ceiling, waiting for the anticides to kick in, then you, my friend, are in the right place. Today, we're going to talk about something that affects so many of us, especially as we get a little wiser. Acid reflux. And more importantly, we're going to talk about how a few simple changes to what you drink, especially in the evening, can make a world of difference. You might be shocked by some of the usual suspects on this list. Drinks we often think are perfectly harmless, even relaxing. Now, I want you to know that this isn't about a strict diet or giving up everything you love. It's about understanding what's happening inside your body and making a few small, smart swaps. Because you deserve to wake up feeling refreshed, not miserable. So, let's get started by understanding the why before we get to the what. You see, as we age, things change. And I don't just mean needing reading glasses or our hair turning silver. The muscle at the bottom of our esophagus, which acts like a little one-way valve to keep stomach acid where it belongs, can sometimes get a little relaxed. It doesn't close as tightly as it used to. So when we lie down flat at night, gravity isn't working in our favor anymore. And if our stomach is full of acid or certain types of food and drink, it's that much easier for it to sneak back up. That's the reflux. And the drinks we're going to talk about can either irritate that sensitive lining directly, or they can actually cause that valve to relax even more, opening the door for trouble. So, let's talk about the first drink that might be causing you more grief than you realize. And this one is a tough one for a lot of us, especially if you enjoy a cup to wind down in the evening. I'm talking about a nice, hot cup of tea. Now, wait a minute. I can almost hear you saying, tea. But tea is soothing. My mother always said to have a cup of tea. And she was right, to a point. But not all teas are created equal, especially when it comes to reflux. The problem with many common teas, like a standard black tea or Earl Grey, is that they contain caffeine. And caffeine, for all its perks, is a known trigger. It can stimulate acid production in your stomach and relax that esophageal valve we just talked about. So that calming, warm feeling might be setting the stage for a very uncalm night. But here's the good news. You, Dawn Tea, have to give up your evening ritual. Not at all. The trick is to switch to a herbal, caffeine-free tea. Now, I am not talking about peppermint, TWLL. Get to why that can be tricky in a moment. I'm talking about a lovely cup of chamomile tea. Chamomile is wonderful. It's naturally calming. It's anti-inflammatory, and it's been used for centuries to soothe the stomach. Ginger tea is another fantastic option. Ginger is a powerhouse for digestion. It can help settle your stomach and reduce inflammation. So, you can keep that wonderful ritual of boiling the water and sipping something warm just making a smarter choice for your body. Now, speaking of peppermint, let's tackle that one directly, because it often gets recommended for stomach issues. And it's true, peppermint can be great for easing an upset stomach or calming cramps. But for acid reflux, it's often public enemy number one. It's so relaxing that it actually relaxes that crucial valve at the top of your stomach. Think of it like this. If that valve is a drawbridge keeping the acid in the castle moat, peppermint tea is like coming along and saying, you know what? Let's just leave this drawbridge wide open tonight. So while it feels soothing going down, it can lead to a real rebellion later on. If you love the minty flavor, perhaps try a very small cup earlier in the day. But it's definitely one to avoid in the hours before you head to bed. Alright, let's move on to another evening favorite for many. A glass of wine, or maybe a nightcap of whiskey, or a nice cold beer. This is a big one. and I know it's a common way to unwind after a busy day. But alcohol is a triple threat when it comes to acid reflux. First, it stimulates your stomach to produce more acid than it normally would. Second, it severely relaxes that lower esophageal valve, making it much easier for all that extra acid to come splashing back up. And third, alcohol can irritate the lining of your esophagus directly, so when the acid does come up, it burns even more. It's like adding fuel to the fire, and then taking the fire extinguisher and throwing it out the window. Now, I'm not here to tell you that you can never enjoy a drink again, but timing is everything. If you do choose to have a drink, having it with your evening meal, say around 6 p.m., is far better than having a nightcap at 9 or 10 p.m. This gives your body several hours to process it before you lie down. And of course, water is your best friend. Sipping water alongside it can help dilute the effects. But if you find that even one drink is consistently causing you problems, well, your body might be telling you something. Listening to it is the most important habit we can develop, and that leads us perfectly into what is perhaps the most shocking drink of all for many people. Something we've been told is the healthiest thing in the world to drink, but for nighttime, it might be the very reason you're waking up miserable. The very reason you're waking up miserable. Now, I know that might sound a little dramatic, but stay with me. This is a drink that so many of us have on our nightstands, something we might even take a sip of in the middle of the night. If we wake up feeling parched, I'm talking about a simple, tall glass of water. But not just any water. I'm talking about ice-cold water. Now, wait a minute. You might be thinking, water? How could water possibly be a problem? I've been told to drink 8 glasses a day my whole life. And you are absolutely right. Water is essential. Hydration is crucial for every single function in our bodies, especially as we get older. But here's the catch, and it's not about the water itself. It's about the temperature and the timing. Think about it for a second. What happens when you pour cold water on a greasy frying pan? The fat seizes up and congeals, right? Well, while it's not a perfect comparison, something similar can happen inside your stomach, especially if you've just finished a meal. Drinking a large volume of ice-cold water, particularly with your dinner or right before bed, can shock your digestive system. It can cause the fats and oils from your meal to solidify, making them much harder to digest. This means your stomach has to work overtime, producing more acid and churning for longer to break everything down. And if you lie down while all of this is still happening, you're creating a perfect storm for reflux. So, what's the solution? It's not to drink less water. Heavens no. It's to be a bit more strategic about it. First, try switching to room temperature or even warm water in the evenings. It's far gentler on your system. In fact, in many traditions, sipping warm water is considered a wonderful way to aid digestion. Second, and this is a big one, try to drink the majority of your water between meals, not during them. Having a few sips with your food is fine, but downing a big glass can overly fill your stomach, increasing the pressure and making it easier for that acid to be pushed upwards. So, hydrate well throughout your day. Enjoy a room temperature glass of water if you're thirsty after dinner, but maybe avoid that giant icy tumbler right before you turn out the light. Now, this next one might seem like it comes out of left field, but it's a hidden culprit in so many of our pantries. We've talked about tea, alcohol, and water. But what about something seemingly innocent, like a glass of tomato juice or even a comforting bowl of broth? It all comes down to acidity. Tomatoes, whether they're in a juice, a sauce, or a soup, are naturally highly acidic. That means they introduce a direct shot of acid into your stomach. For someone with a sensitive system, this is like adding insult to injury. Your stomach might already be producing more acid than it needs, and then you go and give it even more. It's no wonder it protests later. And it's not just tomato juice. Many vegetable juices, especially the green ones that are so popular, can be problematic. Think about spinach. Kales are healthy, wonderful foods, but when they are juiced, you're concentrating them and often removing the fiber that helps slow down digestion and buffer the acid, so that healthy green drink you might be having with your supper it might be doing more harm than good when it comes to a peaceful night's sleep. The same goes for citrus juices. A small glass of orange juice with breakfast might be fine for some, but having it in the evening is practically an invitation for heartburn. The key here is awareness. If you enjoy these things, have them earlier in the day when your body is upright and actively digesting, not right before you lie down for the night. This leads us to perhaps the most surprising drink of all, one that is often marketed as a healthy alternative, a soothing elixir. I'm talking about milk. For generations, the old advice for heartburn was to drink a glass of milk. And it's true. In the moment, it can feel wonderfully soothing. The cool liquid coats the esophagus and provides temporary relief from the burn. But for many people, milk is a classic case of a rebound effect. You see, milk is actually slightly acidic. But more importantly, it's rich in fat and protein. While fat can help some people feel full, it can also relax that lower esophageal valve. And both fat and protein require your stomach to produce more acid to break them down. So, that initial relief you feel, it might be followed by a surge of even more stomach acid an hour or two later, just as you're trying to fall asleep. If you find yourself consistently waking up after trying the milk remedy, this is likely why. Now, you might be wondering what in the world is left to drink. It feels like we've crossed everything off the list, but I promise you, we haven't. In fact, understanding what to avoid is only half the battle. The real magic, the key to finally waking up feeling great, lies in knowing what you can and should be drinking to actually calm your stomach and support your digestion. And that's exactly where we're going to pick this up. Because the right choices can make all the difference, turning a night of misery into a night of truly restful, rejuvenating sleep. Turning a night of misery into a night of truly restful, rejuvenating sleep. And that's really what this is all about, isn't it? It's not about deprivation. It's about empowerment. It's about knowing that you have the tools to take control of how you feel. After talking about all those tricky drinks to tease, the alcohol, the acidic juices, even milk, it's only fair that we focus on the heroes of the story. The drinks that can actually become part of your solution, your new evening routine for a peaceful night. So, let's start with the simplest one of all, but with a twist: water. Now, we talked about why icy cold water right before bed might not be the best idea. But water itself is still your greatest ally. The key is to make it work for you. Sipping on room temperature or slightly warm water throughout the evening is one of the best habits you can develop. It helps dilute stomach acid if it's brewing. It keeps you hydrated without shocking your system, and it's incredibly gentle. Some people even find that adding just a tiny pinch of baking soda to a glass of water can help neutralize acid in a pinch. But it's always best to check with your doctor before trying that, especially if you're on any medications or have blood pressure concerns. But plain room temperature water, you can't go wrong. It's about working with your body, not against it. Now, let's talk about a real superstar for digestion: aloe vera juice. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Isn't that the stuff you put on? It is, and that's because it's incredibly soothing and anti-inflammatory. Well, that same soothing property works wonders on the inside, too. A small glass of aloe vera juice, about a quarter of a cup, about 30 minutes before dinner, can help coat your stomach and esophagus, providing a protective layer against acid. Now, a very important word of caution here. You must look for aloe vera juice that is specifically labeled for internal use, and that has had the laxative component, called aloin, removed. You don't want any surprises, but when you find a good, reputable brand, it can be a game changer for creating a calm, soothed environment before you even eat your first bite. Another wonderful option is something your grandmother might have sworn by: a tablespoon of raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar in a large glass of water. Now, I know this sounds completely counterintuitive. You want me to drink acid for my acid reflux? It sounds crazy, but the theory behind it is that for some people, reflux isn't caused by too much acid, but by too little. The idea is that a weak stomach acid doesn't properly digest food, which then sits there and ferments, creating gas and pressure that forces the little acid you do have back up into your esophagus. The apple cider vinegar introduces a mild acid, telling your stomach, hey, it's okay. We've got enough acid. You can stop production now. It's like a reset button. Now, this doesn't work for everyone, and you should never, ever drink it straight. Always dilute it well in water. But for many, it's a simple, natural trick that brings immense relief. It's certainly worth a try. And finally, we can't forget about the power of plain, old-fashioned oatmeal water or almond milk. These are incredibly bland, alkaline, and soothing liquids. To make oatmeal water, you simply take a handful of plain, uncooked oatmeal, soak it in a big pitcher of water for a while, strain it, and then sip on the slightly milky-looking water throughout the evening. It's very calming. And unsweetened almond milk is a fantastic, low-acid alternative to cow's milk. It doesn't have the fat content that can trigger reflux, and it can provide that same comforting feeling of having a little something before bed without the negative consequences. So, when you look at it all together, it's really about making a few mindful swaps. Trading your black tea for a cup of chamomile. Swapping that late-night glass of wine for a soothing sip of aloe vera juice before dinner. Choosing room temperature water over ice cold. These aren't huge, life-altering changes. They're small, simple choices that, when you add them up, can completely transform your nights from a battle with heartburn to a peaceful, restful experience. Remember, you've spent a lifetime taking care of everyone else. Now it's your time to take care of you. Paying attention to these little signals your body is sending is the greatest act of self-care. You have the power to fix this. It might take a little experimentation to see which of these solutions works best for your unique body, but that's okay. Be patient and kind with yourself. I would love to hear about your journey in the comments below. Have you tried any of these drinks? Did one work better for you than another? Your experience could be the very thing that helps someone else finally get a good night's sleep. Sharing our stories is how we all learn and grow together. If this video brought you some comfort and some practical advice, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps others find our community here. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel and clicking that little bell. We're here to help you live your very best life, full of energy and free from misery, one good night's sleep at a time. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Here's to peaceful nights, comfortable mornings, and feeling your very best.